All shots here are unedited and were taken using my Canon 5D Mark II. Now understand, I was shopping for the 70-200 when I ran across this 28-300, which made me ask the question, would this lens give me what I needed and replace my current walk-around lens? I wanted to share the answer to a question that I had for the last couple of weeks. Ultimately, which lens next? I enjoy photography. I get personal satisfaction out of it. I am not a professional. I would not even consider myself an amateur. But I do enjoy it. And I enjoy good equipment. Not being made of money and not having a wife that lets me throw money away, when I do make a purchase, it has to count. So ultimately it came down to which of the two lenses should I purchase next. For the last 4 years, I have been wishing for a 70-200. For the type of photography I enjoy, this was the makes sense next lens. I shoot car events, I shoot motorcycle rallies, I also shoot jets, planes at the airport, as well as construction activities. Before I go any further, I do want to stress I am sponsored. I am sponsored by my employer who pays me for every hour that I work in my crane on the construction site. I am not associated with any camera or camera equipment manufacturer, and I am not associated with any camera shop. When it came down to purchasing the 70-200, through my research, I ran across what I think is one of Canon's best kept secrets. The 28-300 f3.5 to 5.6 IS lens. So the question that I had is, would this lens replace my current Canon 24-105 f4 and give me what the 70-200 would give to me with an additional 100mm of focal length? Understand that this lens is not as fast as this one. And with the F range being what it is, it's not a lens that you could use indoors that you can get away with this 70-200. But since most everything I shoot is outdoors, I wanted to give this one a try. My current equipment is a 5D Mark II, and as I mentioned, the 24-105 lens. This is what I consider my walk-around lens, and it was my first L lens or red ring lens. I know the 28-300 has been tested and reviewed, but I hadn't found anyone reviewing it that was what I consider at my level, which is not expert, not even advanced. I'm a hobby photographer. The real question, would I be able to tell the difference between the images of the 70-200 that is, I am told, Canon's second best lens compared to the 28-300? Could this possibly replace what I have and turn into my new walk-around lens? First thing I will say is I'm not going to cover the specs. They're available everywhere. You can find them easily here on YouTube ad nauseum. What I will say is this beast is heavy. At almost 4 pounds, it's almost a full pound heavier than the 70-200. Because I shoot with a grip on my camera, which gives me a second battery, it puts my controls at the top right corner of the camera, whether I'm shooting landscape or portrait. And it just fits my hand better, so I don't feel like I'm sipping tea with the Queen. The camera and this lens weigh in at 6¼ pounds. That doesn't sound like much until you're carrying that package around a car event for about 2 hours. And that does pale in comparison to my current setup, which weighs in at just a little over a pound. I took pictures in similar situations under similar lighting and compared the two to see which would be better. The results were not surprising. I had hoped this 300 would be crisp enough to satisfy my desire for the next lens. However, what I found is what everyone has said. The 70-200 is a super crisp lens. Shots at 200 millimeter could be cropped in at what would be equivalent at this shooting 300 millimeter, and they were clearer. Ultimately, for me, in short, if I were using a gold ring lens or a Canon kit lens, this would have been a very happy step up. But because I already had a current red lens, I was not as happy with the 28-300 results. There were too many times the images were soft, or that the color just didn't seem to translate correctly. Was the color the issue of the lens? I can't say. Again, I am not an expert. But I will say, between these two lenses, as the next lens to go in my bag along with my 24-105, this came out top. Now I will be adding photos. I want you to decide for yourself if you can live with it. Again, this would have been a great lens if this were my first L lens. And as some have said here, $2,000 could replace almost $8,000 worth of lenses. I don't necessarily agree with that statement when it comes to image quality, but I will say, again, as someone stepping up from a Canon gold ring, this would be an excellent next step, and they would be very, very happy. Both come with image stabilization. There are two styles of image stabilization on both lenses, and in one review it was indicated incorrectly. One stabilization is for horizontal movement and vertical movement. The second stabilization mode is for vertical movement only, which allows you to pan a moving target without having image stabilization hinder your results. On the left is my 24-105 current lens, and on the right is the 28-300. In my opinion, the 24-105 was just a little bit sharper than the 28-300, and it appeared to me as though the coloring was slightly better. Now in this next group of photos is the 70-200 on the left, and again the 28-300 on the right. I really could see a difference with the 70-200 here, comparing it to the 28-300. Now in this shot, the 24-105 has a little bit more color than the 28-300 and appears to me to be slightly sharper. Here you can really see the difference between the 70-200 and 28-300. Now comparing these two lenses is like comparing a Ford Escort to a Ferrari Testarossa. It's not a fair comparison. But for me, I wanted to know, would I be able to tell a difference? And I really could. Here, both shot at their maximum focal length, you can see the 28-300 just isn't quite as sharp as the 70-200. I do not want you to get the impression that the 28-300 is a bad lens. In a couple of shots, the 28-300 actually appeared to outperform the 70-200. In this case here that you're seeing, I'm sure the glare had a lot to do with the 28-300 appearing to be sharper. However, I did want to share this particular image with you, as my wife actually said she felt the 28-300 was sharper. In conclusion, if you're looking to step up to a wide range of focal length, the 28-300 is a good lens. It wasn't until just a few weeks ago that I learned this lens existed. Even now, if you go to the B&H Photo and Video website, it's several pages down in the Canon lenses. Now this lens is not new. It was introduced June of 2004, and it has a retail price of $24.49. That's an expensive lens, especially someone that's making their first step into an L lens. But if someone were to make that step, they would be extremely happy with their results. I will be putting the 70-200 in my bag. Now hopefully someone who's considering the 28-300 will find this video from another photo hobbyist helpful. Thank you for watching.